Hey guys, Mike here from Airsoft.com. Thanks for watching. Today I'm going to be showing you how to convert this Real Steel E Mag and this classic Army mid cap into this Airsoft awesomeness. Okay, to convert these two into this, it's a fairly straightforward process. All you need to do is basically cut the top off of this magazine, because real magazines are a lot bigger than most Airsoft mid caps. If you're running Systema PTW mags, or other sort of professional training weapon mags, or gas blowback magazines as well, they're generally all very close to real steel dimensions. As you can see there, this standard mid cap isn't, and that's because of the way normal AEGs feed. Obviously a gas blowback and the Systemas, they feed rounds out of the top of the magazine rather than up through a hop unit. So that's something to bear in mind if you're going to do this conversion for PTW. With gas blowbacks, it's exactly the same process. Obviously you'll need to make a notch for your gas knocker and a hole in the bottom for your gas valve so you can fill the magazines. Apart from that, it's pretty straightforward. As you can see here, the top's been cut down. Then all you need to do, say, take the spring and riser outside, out of the internals of the magazine, and you need to keep the spring in and just chop it off a little bit, because without that spring, the bottom release plate won't have any tension and the bottom will just slide off. So to do that, tool-wise, basically need a hacksaw, just a standard hacksaw, or a Dremel. Dremel's quicker, but obviously it doesn't give you a straighter line. A tool to remove your internals of your magazine. In this case, these classic Army mags, they have a hex screw, so I need an Allen key, some tape, a pen, and wire clippers, a sharp knife, depending on which way you want to mark the magazines up, and eye protection. Always wear eye protection for dremeling or grinding, because bits flying off your eyes. So moving on, taking the magazines apart is the first step. So what we need to do is take the internals of this classic Army magazine first. For that I need a Allen key. Simple process. Undo the screw on the bottom, take it out, put it to one side, and then the internals of the magazine will slide out. You need to keep this, put the internals to one side. To remove the internals of the real E-Mag, you need to depress the little grey tab here, and then the bottom plate will slide forward. If you've got big fat fingers like I have, you can't quite get it to depress all the way. You can use a pen, a knife, anything. Just depress it and then slide that off. Allow the spring to come out. Put the spring to one side, because you'll need to take a bit of that in a minute. And again, put the base plate to one side. So now we have two magazine shells that we need to match in terms of size. Note, if you put them this way, they look like they may be the same size. They are not. It's just because of the way they're curved. You need to stack them on top of each other, like so. There's two ways of that I like to do this. There's a scoring method where you basically line the magazines up and use this as the edge of this magazine as a straight line to score this magazine. And there's a method where you use tape and mark it properly. Now if you're going to score it, one thing you need to be wary of is, as I'll show you here, if I line up these two magazines here and I make a score line, you can't see it, you won't be able to see it on the camera, but the score line on here actually runs along the top of the magazine feed lip. Now obviously on the Airsoft magazine, the AEG magazine, there is a gap, so if I was to cut that there, your BBs would not feed properly, so you need to make sure you have that same gap. Now, method that I prefer to use, is simply to tape up your magazines like so. Basically going to wrap some tape around in line with the top of the magazine retention hole. Wrap it around, making sure I've got the same gap all the way around the magazine. So there we go. Then I'm going to take some tape again. And I'm going to wrap that around in line with the top of the magazine. There we go. Now, because I've used thin masking tape, I can see a clear line. I'm just going to use my pen to mark that line. There we go. Then I'm basically going to take the bits of tape off of both. Keep that there. Take this one off. I'm going to stick this one back on here, using the same method, keeping it in line with the top of the magazine feed lip. And then I can place this tape around it, ensuring that the line I've drawn matches the top of the first layer of tape I put down. There you go. That is now the correct height for me to cut this line here. So I need to cut along the line of the tape. Hacksaw, and start sawing. There we go. Take the tape off. You can see now the edges, the distance between the top of the magazine retention well on the real magazine and the Airsoft magazine are now the same distance. What we need to do now is tidy this up using a Dremel or a file, basically smooth out the edges. Okay, so once you've got your magazine cut down, you need to neaten up the edges. I'm going to use a Dremel because it's quicker. If you don't have a Dremel, you can just use sandpaper. But yeah, neaten up the edges and get ready to install the internals. Key thing to note, this is plastic. So if you set your sand, if you're using a Dremel, you set the sand in or the cutting discs too high, it will start to melt them. So just be cautious of that. Okay, so once you neaten up the top, obviously you need to get ready to insert the internal. Now you just slide it in the same way as you would a normal magazine, but what you're going to notice is that there's going to be certain parts of this which are not going to fit. So on the Classic Army magazine internals, you've got these two sort of nubs at the bottom. You don't need to take them all the way off, but you do need to angle them in a little bit to cater for the contour of the front of the E Mag. So once you've got those tapered in, they will start to fit. The next problem you're going to have is these magazine, the sort of stabilization nubs on the front of the magazine here. You need to basically take all of these off, so you've got 6, 3 on each side. So with those taken down, the magazine internals will now slide inside the E Mag. It's very, very tight fit down to the top. Now what you'll notice here is there's a lip. That's because the top of the magazine internals has these little lips on which slot inside the internals of this magazine. So you need to push it back out. As you can see, they're stiff. There's no way they're coming out, basically, once they're in. So depending on what magazine you're going to use for your internals, this is trial and error. Not every magazine is built the same way. Internals are built the same way as this. So this one, you've got a couple of lips you just need to take down with the Dremel. There's a lip at the front on the Classic Army ones and a lip at the back. So we'll just take those down. So those lips now taken down. Again, test fit again. And there we go. Magazine now fits all the way to the edge. Again, the upper plate is slightly different in terms of shape compared to the rest of the magazine. So what I'm going to do now is just start taking down these edges so it follows the contour of so there we go. Once you've got your internals fitted, you need to fit your bottom plate. So you need to bring back in your spring assembly and your bottom plate. You need to take off the bottom piece of the spring assembly. It just unclips, and you need to cut basically on the spring. You need to keep the flat piece at the bottom because that's what actually attaches to the spring plate. And you need to just cut a tiny, tiny amount just to give it a little bit of tension between the magazine and the base plate. Now my wire cutters have just broken, so I'm going to use a disc just to cut here. So that tiny amount of spring there is going to be enough just to depress this down in here. Now the profile of the bottom of this is too high for the magazine, so what you need to do is you need to take down these large lumps here until all you've got left is basically the area that clips the spring guide into. So I'll take those down with my Dremel for time efficiency. Okay, so once those are taken down, and that will have just enough spring on it to allow you to fit your bottom plate back on and keep that bottom plate in place. If, like you've got there, you've put it on and it's suddenly twisted, you just need to give it a little nudge with something, and there we have it. That is converted E Mag to fit in an AEG. You can then go one step further, as on here, and print off some fake rounds with a little bit of spring, with a spring image in the bottom, make it look like there's actually rounds in there. I'll put these on the on temporairsoft.com for you to download if you want to print these off. So you can just stick those to the side of the internal of the magazine as you put the magazine in, you know, and that's it. That is the conversion. So there you go, guys. That's how to convert a real steel E Mag and mid cap into an airsoft compatible version. As you saw, relatively easy to do, not too difficult. Obviously it's going to cost a little bit because you've got to buy the magazines first, as well as your mid cap magazines. But if that's the effect you want, you know, if you're building a loadout, then it's definitely worth it in the long run. It looks good and they work absolutely brilliantly. So let me know in the comments if you're planning on doing this, or if you have done this already. I'm not the first guy to show people how to do this, so I know there are some people out there that have done this before, although the tutorials seem to be a little bit difficult to come by. So that's it from me. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you like the content, and thanks for watching.